What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Roy Jones Jr., Jaron Boots Ennis, Terence Bud Crawford. Get this, according to Roy Jones Jr., he says that Jaron Boots Ennis could be a difficult fight for Terence Crawford. And Jones thinks that that with the talent skills of the unbeaten Boots Ennis, he said anything can happen in the fight against former two-time undisputed champion Terence Crawford. And this is what he says. He says, well, we don't know yet if he can take a real punch yet because we haven't seen it. But as far as skills goes, he has everything. The fight could go any way. It could be very difficult for Crawford. When a guy is very talented and his skills that Boots has, anything can happen. Bud has that skill level too. So, great fight. Those are the words of Roy Jones Jr. And let me counterpunch. I agree with Roy. I think we just have to see a fight like that. I think we should be blessed with a fight like that. I think 2023 gave us a lot. It didn't give us everything, but it gave us enough, I feel. And I think it gave us enough to understand how good Terence Crawford is. I don't buy anything about Errol Spence. I never thought that Errol Spence was better than Terence. Not to say Errol Spence is not good, because if Errol Spence was that bad, that means the fight wouldn't be worth seeing. And the praise for Terence Crawford wouldn't worth being. Bars. Okay, keep that in mind. You're only good as your opponents. You know what I mean? So if your opponents are trash, what does that really make you? I think that still makes you a little smelly, right? What does that make you, a trash man? You know what I'm saying? So I think, if anything, we've seen enough of Terence Crawford to want more, to see what he can do. That's what happens when you see dominant performances. That's the same thing that happened with Canelo Alvarez. When Canelo Alvarez went from 160 to 168, and he was busting people up, then he took a little tour over to 175, and he beat Kovalev all the way live. Then went back to 168 and then finished off the rest of the division. I think everyone just kept saying more, feed us. And I think that's what happened with Terence Crawford. And Terence Crawford, you have to understand, the same effect, but a different guy. Why? Because Terence Crawford has not only been doing this a long time, he's also a lot older than guys like Canelo. Canelo's like 33, 30. He'll be 34 in July. Terence Crawford is already 36. You know what I mean? And you want him to fight every young, strong, hungry guy out there. And the answer to that is yes, we do. And it's like this. It's like, hey, fight these guys, or take your accolades, your money, your legacy, and take all that and head for the hills. Take it on home. Retire. Because it's not worth chasing Canelo. It's not worth waiting for a big fight simply because, I don't think Canelo will fight him. I just don't think that. I think Canelo, I don't think Canelo does what he wants to do. And I think here's the problem. Terence Crawford hasn't earned that ability yet. You know what I mean? That's the only problem. In the minds of fans and in opinion, they don't think, and a lot of people don't feel, that Terence Crawford has earned those stripes enough to say, man, I want to pick that dude over there that's past his prime. Let me beat the hell out of him. You know what? I think I want to take this guy on simply because I want to do it. I don't think people have done that yet. He hasn't got to that level yet in the minds of people. Okay, but I think Terence Crawford, with the record and the weight classes and the accomplishments and the skill set and the tenacity and the knockout percentage, I think he's earned enough to take it to the house. Has he earned enough to fight people that we don't want to see? No, he has not. You know what I mean? And is that really his fault? No, it is not. You know what I'm saying? But I do think he should fight Boots Ennis. You know what I mean? And I think the more people talk about that, the more it becomes a reality, because what happens when you hear chatter, you hear opinions, you hear people mention Jaron Ennis along with Terence Crawford, it becomes a thing by association. Okay? That's what happens. And I think that's what's happening here in this situation. Okay, and Roy Jones, come on, it's Roy, and he's saying, I think there'll be a very good fight. We don't know what he's gonna do. He ain't been in there with somebody just like Terence Crawford, just like you, So I think what that is, I think the more people talk about it, the more we're gonna want to see it because it builds the anticipation. Okay, I mean, once upon a time, people, believe it or not, one of the highest grossing boxing, okay, if not the highest boxing fights of all time, Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd on Money Mayweather. Okay, 4.4 pay-per-view million pay-per-view buys. Okay, before any of that happened, it had to start at a certain point, right? And it started like 08, 09. Okay, it started in those years, which was a long time before they actually fought. But it got to a point where it started happening. But I'll say this. Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather alike had the competition. They had the stable of fighters to fight in between. They had the Ricky Hattons. They had the Miguel Cottos. They had the Juan Manuel Marquez's. They had the Sugar Shane Mosleys. They don't really have that now. That's the problem with Jaron. Jaron is just kind of sitting there like, I'm the newest, baddest, biggest shit-talking champion around right now, and I have all the skills, and I want to pay the bills. Right? That's what he is right now. He's just sitting there, just chilling. But then he doesn't have the people. I think here's the problem with Jaron Ennis. Jaron, his only problem is timing. I think Jaron Ennis came around at the wrong time. If Jaron Ennis would have been around 4 or 5 years ago, we would have been able to see a Danny Garcia, possibly a Sean Porter, or even a Keith Thurman. We would have saw these guys, or a Errol Spence and Jaron Ennis. We would have been able to see that, or maybe come across that pond. How about a Kell Brook? You know what I mean? Someone like that, or Amir Khan. Those guys were still around at the time. Okay? I think that's the only problem. We don't have those stable of fighters to have a mutual opponents or mutual performances to compare performances between the two guys. Okay, so that's my counterpunch on that. You guys tell me what you think of Roy Jones Jr. Y'all must have forgot stating that Jaron Ennis will and can give Terence Crawford a lot of problems. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been counterpunching.